The shelf is empty. Not one roll left. The person next to you grabbed the last 3. You stood there, staring at metal shelves, wondering what you were going to do over toilet paper. This happened March 2020 and 1973, and it will happen again. Be honest. You were there, or someone you know was, and here's what nobody told you. For 2 million years before that empty shelf existed, every human on Earth solved this problem. Every single one of them, without panicking. Ancient Rome, 100 AD. Population, 1 million people. The city had 144 public latrines. These weren't private. No doors, no stalls, no curtains. 10 men side by side, sometimes more. They talked business here. Politicians made deals. Merchants negotiated contracts. The Roman latrine was a social space. You went there to be seen. And in the corner of every latrine, a bucket of salt water or vinegar. In it, a stick with a sponge on the end. The Romans called it a tersorium. You used it. The man next to you used it. The man before him used it. One sponge, rinsed in salt water, shared daily. Archaeologist Anne Olga Koloski-Ostro documented this in 2015, working from latrine artifacts excavated at Pompeii and Herculaneum. She found organic residue on dozens of specimens, not just one, dozens, the same object, passed between strangers every single day for 400 years. You share a bathroom with maybe 2 or 3 people and you still knock first. They shared a sponge with 50 strangers and called it civilized. Now go further back. Ancient China, 589 AD. A government official named Yan Zhitui wrote something that changed how historians understand early paper use. He wrote that he could not dare use paper bearing the names of sages or holy texts for personal hygiene, which tells us exactly one thing. Paper existed, and people were already using it this way. In 589, that's 1,302 years before Seth Wheeler filed his patent in Albany, New York. China had been making paper since 105 AD, when court official Cai Lun presented the emperor with sheets made from bark, hemp, and rags. From invention to hygienic use, 484 years. You've been doing this far longer than you think. Now move to medieval Europe, and here the picture gets considerably worse. In 13th century France, if you were a peasant, which most people were, you used whatever was around. Moss, if you could find it, dry grass in summer, leaves in autumn, smooth stones in winter. Historian Jan Bondison cataloged these practices in 2005, pulling from court records, church documents, and medical texts across 5 European countries. Stone was specifically recommended in regions where vegetation was scarce. Smooth stone, carried daily. You carry a phone in your pocket. They carried a stone. Same pocket, same daily ritual, different object. Wealthy Europeans in the same period used something entirely different. Wool, linen, hemp fabric, reusable, washed by servants. If you had servants, you had clean fabric every morning. If you didn't, you had the field and whatever the season offered. Monasteries were the exception. Monks in Benedictine orders used communal rags, washed weekly, kept in a shared bucket near the latrine. Weekly, one bucket, shared. The Roman sponge at least got rinsed between uses. Now here's the part you probably didn't expect. The Vikings. They used frayed rope. Specifically, frayed rope, not rope in general. Archaeological finds at Coppergate in York, excavated by the York Archaeological Trust in 1979, confirmed exactly this. Rope fragments with specific wear patterns, from a layer dated to 975 AD. You probably have a rope somewhere, in a garage, in a shed, on a boat. You've never once thought of it the way they did. But here's the thing. The most important shift in this entire story happened in America, and it started with a catalog. The Sears Roebuck Catalog, first published in 1888. Hundreds of pages, thin paper, and for millions of American farm families with outdoor privies, the catalog served double duty. You read it, then you used it. The Sears Company reportedly received letters from customers requesting pages not be too glossy, because glossy pages were completely useless for the purpose. People wrote to a corporation to complain about paper quality for that reason. And they're not wrong. You'd have done the same. Sound familiar? You left a 1-star review last week because the packaging was hard to open. Before catalogs, rural Americans used newspapers and corn cobs. Corn cobs were actually preferred, soft when dry. They grew them specifically for this. Plumbing historians Richard Rayburn and David Evely documented this in their 2014 survey of 19th-century American rural sanitation records. The corn cob beat the newspaper because the newspaper left ink. You've complained about smudged packaging before. Same instinct, different era. Seth Wheeler saw the solution. In 1891, he patented perforated paper on a roll. Albany Perforated Wrapping Paper Company, Albany, New York. Wheeler filed 37 patents in his lifetime. This is the one that survived. Within 10 years, the product spread across the northeastern United States, but not everywhere. Rural America kept using catalogs and corn cobs well into the 1930s. 40 more years after Wheeler's patent, half the country. Now, you might be thinking, what did people use for thousands of years before paper, catalogs, rope, or stone? The answer goes back 500,000 years, and it's a stick. Every major ancient civilization developed a hygiene stick independently. Different names, different materials, same function. On 3 separate continents. Paleoparasitologist Piers Mitchell at Cambridge University studied 2,500-year-old latrine deposits from sites across the Middle East in 2016. He found intestinal parasites alongside plant material in every sample. The plant material wasn't food. The deposit analysis showed it had no nutritional context. It was functional, used, then discarded. 500,000 years of humans choosing the softest leaves they could find. Every single morning. You do the same. You pick the brand with the softest packaging. You compare prices. You have a preference. That's not modern consumer behavior. That's the same decision your ancestor made by a riverbank before the invention of writing. Same preference. 500,000 years of it. Fast forward to December 19, 1973. Late night TV. Johnny Carson. Carson made a joke. He told 20 million viewers there was a shortage of toilet paper in the United States. There was no shortage. Supply was stable. Warehouses were full. By the next morning, 20 million Americans had emptied supermarket shelves. In 48 hours, a joke created the shortage it predicted. Sociologist Gerald Albaum at the University of Colorado documented this in 1974 as one of the first academic case studies of media-driven panic buying. A joke on television, a single sentence, and 20 million people panicked over something that took humanity 2 million years to find a substitute for. And then it happened again. March 2020, the first COVID-19 lockdowns. Within 24 hours of the first lockdown announcements in Australia, toilet paper sales spiked 700%. Not food, not medicine, not water filters, toilet paper. Researcher Nitika Garg at Queensland University of Technology published findings in 2020 showing that perceived loss of control drives panic buying of functional necessities first, ahead of actual food and water. The more essential something feels, the faster it disappears. 2,000 years ago, you'd have walked to a riverbank. You'd have found a smooth stone, picked it up, used it, left. No empty shelves, no stockpiling, no panic. Just a solution that was always available, always free, and impossible to run out of. Fair question. Does any of this mean the old ways were better? Not the shared sponge. Definitely not. What it means is this. The need existed for 2 million years before 1891, and every civilization that ever existed solved it with whatever was at hand. The Romans had a system that lasted 400 years. China documented paper use 1,302 years before your bathroom did. Medieval peasants chose the softest moss they could find, same as you choose the softest brand on the shelf. Seth Wheeler in 1891 didn't invent a new need. He invented a new delivery system for a need that was already 2 million years old. The catalog pages, the shared sponge, the smooth stone, the frayed rope, all of them worked. And in March 2020, with 700% more toilet paper than they needed stacked in garages across Australia, people panicked as if none of that history had ever existed. The tersorium survived for 400 years in Rome. Your current brand loyalty probably won't last 4. The roll in your bathroom arrived in 1891. We've been acting like it's older than civilization itself. It's 133 years old. The stone they used at Pompeii is 2000, and for the 2 million years before either of them, every single person on Earth managed. Every single one. You reach for it every morning, without thinking, without wondering how anyone survived without it. They didn't just survive, they built Rome. They sailed to new continents. They invented writing with a sponge on a stick, with a smooth stone, with a page from a catalog. Your ancestors left you the manual. You just never read it. The next time the shelves go empty, and they will go empty again, you'll know exactly what to reach for. What would you actually grab first? Drop your answer below. I read every single one.